Hi Robin, are you logged in again?
Yep. Fair way.
Request to retain funds, 2.1. Page 26 of your agenda, I think it is. So, Erin, would you like to speak to this item?
So through the chair, I'll take it as read. The only aspect that I would just point out to the board is that the Thames Rotary Club have asked for a second rollover of the funding from 2018-19. So to draw that to the attention.
Sorry, what was that, Erin?
The Thames Rotary Club have asked for a second, I guess, rollover, for want of a better word, of funding they received in 2018-19. That means that have it needs to put her hand up.
Yes, Robin.
I had a question about why it needs to be rolled over for 2 years, because the
We can.
Just got to turn the video on.
Kill your video, Robin.
We need to have a sign held up saying we can't hear you.
Yeah.
Where did you say she was? Kahuna.
Yes. Yes.
And while we're waiting for Robin to come back, can I ask a question?
Yes.
What we're looking at here is about 4 or 5 grand worth of grants that are being asked to be rolled over. If we were to say, if they weren't to be rolled over, what would happen with that grant money?
So through the chair, they would be required to pay it back.
Yeah.
And I would presume, I can confirm that it would just simply go into the retained earnings area.
So
you can't, in other words, you can't use it for this year if they paid it
you
back.
can't what?
So that wouldn't go on your community grants funds for this year. It would just basically just come back in as a refund to council.
They would lose that funding.
Yeah, so they would lose that funding, but they would be able to reapply for funding in the next round of grants.
They could.
Potentially. Would that 5 grand, would we be able to allocate that 5 grand that was coming back to something else like library books? Right, so the question I'm asking is, if we said no to this, then we could say no, but please reapply in the next grant round. And we would then be able to look at the, and by the way, we've now got this 5 grand that we can then flip to the library books.
Very sick question, he's just locked out. My understanding is that because it was a previous financial year that you can't reallocate that into a new year. This is the only mechanism that you can do that. So you can't take that money and then use it in this financial year. That is my understanding. But you could ask them
That's my understanding as well.
yeah, you could ask them to apply into this financial year community grants, which are currently open.
But they would have to pay this back.
They would. Yeah.
We've got Robin.
Yeah, Robin. She is asking, my question is, do we know why Rotary hasn't been able to use their funds 2 years in a row?
So through the chair, the only thing that we have to really go on, I'm not sure about the previous year, but as in the attachments that there had been zero water flowing at the dam until this week when it filled for the first time, and now we are aware of the work still needed and want to finish it. So I'm not sure why they weren't able to do it the previous year either.
Nor am I, except for this year, was drought related. Not enough water in the dam to actually test it in terms of the work they had done. That's what I understand. And that was reiterated in your report here, wasn't it?
So through the chair, it sounds like they have done some work, and if we then ask for the money back, then potentially they may have already spent some of the money.
Yeah, look, personally, I've got no problem with any of these. In the amounts being carried forward, so can we start from that base, and has anybody got any problem with these amounts being carried forward?
I just one question, is everything. If the funds are to be retained by the four, does that negate any further requests for funding from the community grants? Because I think that if they get to keep the money this year, should they be, or if they are applying, would that be right?
So through the chair, they can still apply for further community grants this time around, but certainly when we bring the community grants to you, we give notes which would, for example, highlight that they still have retained, retained grants in previous years. So that would be part of your decision making, whether you wish to still provide them with further funding.
And they may have valid reasons still to apply for a new grant, regardless of the fact that they have been able to spend these amounts for the reasons given. So it's a case of just following the reports and seeing what can be best justified. So there is a motion, suggested resolution. A mover and seconder for this.
Well, it's actually asking you to decide, thank you, whether or not you wish to approve or decline.
Well, if you move the resolution, then you decided to allow.
Do we want to do them all, just the whole lot,
Yeah,
rather than individually? Yeah.
Is it possible to put a rider in that if we do that, if we agree to it this time, that there will not be a further one? That this will not be extended again?
Oh, that's what you mean, yeah.
I just,
For the Rotary?
well, particularly for Rotary, yeah.
So through the chair, you could provide them rider that, that you could advise the Rotary Club that you did not wish to, extend that a further year. So you can make that really, there's no reason why you can't do that.
Well, I'm not sure whether you could do that because everything's discussed on the merits of the reasons why they might seek a deferral, and there are circumstances, that, and these are good causes for our community. There's no doubt about that. The work being done on the dam and what it's going to provide. But yeah, I mean, whether it's sufficient to actually the fact that they've carried forward two years in a row, perhaps just a letter to say that it's highly unusual. And that we prefer that the money was spent in the year that the grant was given. Without an ultimatum to say you can't do this.
So is that a second motion or part of the original, or what is it?
We could certainly just make it as an action to that letter be sent to them about that we prefer the money to be spent within this year.
I think it's just a letter.
Yeah,
That's
that's
my
fine.
view.
That's fine.
You happy with that, Peter?
I'm not convinced about if we ask them to pay it back, what happens with the money. I'm not at the moment sitting here not convinced about that. So my ultimate driver is I would love to see the market get its full funding.
That shouldn't be at the sacrifice of this.
That's right, but we've got to fund the money from somewhere. And so then I start looking and I'm thinking, okay, is this something where?
Well, I don't think it is. That's my view. I think we've got to, yes, I mean, I agree with you. We need to find some extra money if we can, if that's a subject of discussion.
Who is the?
Yep.
Well, I mean,
You understand, but
yeah, so Donna is, but generally in these circumstances is that it just goes back into retained earnings. You can't get something from, like, for example, 2 years ago and then use it this financial year. It's OPEX as well, it's not CapEx. So you can't carry forward OPEX into the next financial year.
So would anyone else of the board want Peter's suggestion further?
I mean, my feeling is that the community board from the previous year approved these. They had the applications, they approved them. I wouldn't feel comfortable with us taking them off them again, taking the money off them. But I do think we do need to say, particularly to Rotary, come on, rattle along, get it done.
Well, that's what we're doing. So can I have a mover and second for that?
Yeah.
We have, yeah,
Right.
three.
Those in favour?
I'm
Against? And just to note that I'm not voting on the Heritage Trust item. Point 2, request to establish a memorial space for Sir Keith Park Airfield. Page 40 of your agenda. There is a suggested resolution. And whether that suggested resolution moves this project in a way that we can approve in principle on the proviso of A and B as stated in the resolution is something we need to discuss. Can we approve in principle the request to establish a memorial space at Sir Keith Park Airfield on the proviso that A and B condition, I guess, that A and B take place. So any discussion around that would be good.
So just through the chair, I guess I'm not quite sure about what the community board has to do compared to the fact that they're applying for a building consent and/or resource consent. So do we have to actually officially say, yes, we want this to proceed for it to proceed, or could it proceed just on the basis that their building consent's approved and they could do it?
So through the chair, the issue at hand is that they want to put it on council land. So as a community board, we need to agree or approve the use of the council land for that purpose.
Right. Okay.
So in terms of the building consent team contacted me and I said, well, we need to await the outcome of the community board's decision as to whether you agree that it be established there before they can start the building consent process.
Yep.
Okay.
And then you'll note, just to the board, that you'll note that I've added in those resolutions around agreement on matters relating to ownership, insurance, maintenance, and those sorts of matters. So often when we have these types of things, often a group will fundraise and then they'll effectively donate it, to the council on behalf of the community or those sorts of matters. But in this case, they wish to retain ownership, which is fine.
Yeah.
But the board needs to be sure that obviously that doesn't come at a cost to the community board if that's the agreement.
And the other thing that Jeff, Warren talked about was the idea of the current lease of the Hauraki Aero Club building, the footprint of that lease being extended to cover this area as well. Is that also something that we would have to vote and approve, or is that more, it could be?
So through the chair, I'm not sure that it really adds to making it a simpler aspect, because effectively, although the same people are involved, there's the Euro Club and then there's the trust, and so then you've got, the dynamics with those two groups anyway. So that's an idea. I don't think it simplifies things.
No,
It's going to add everything to the general decision, which is whether you wish it to go in that location, which is really the crux of today's discussion.
So does the resolution actually fulfil that? I don't think it does.
What you said,
Does the resolution state what we need to say at this current point in time? I'm not sure that it does.
You think it does?
No, I'm not sure that it does.
Oh, okay.
Serena's question.
I just want to know about the legality of the liability on the council property. So I think I read somewhere about a letter or something that they were going to be liable for all of that. So does that mean it will be theirs forever? Because if the corporation or the Inc. or whatever it is falls over, does it then drop back to council?
So through the chair, that's always at risk, I guess, in these things, is because trusts can come and go, people come and leave from areas. So I guess my response to that is that we can't predict the future, but that you're right, maybe there is a need to get a provision around, you know, from a legal perspective around should this trust dissolve or things like that.
Would that all be part of what happens in the lease negotiation?
Yes, it would, but I think that it'd be worthwhile potentially adding that into that resolution. I think those sorts of things, that this is an indication around the types of things, because obviously it's contingent on you agreeing to it, but I think it would be good to add that sort of thing in here, you know, for consideration, just to make sure that we're really clear when we provide direction to our legal around forming this lease up. Because I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I just, yeah.
These things can fall over, and then we got a quote to an extra that I actually could extract around what our insurance would have been should we have.
Is it public liability only, $7,000?
Not sure how much of the component was, but it was $7,000 a year for the insurance, and that was for a public organisation. And that would be only for major damage, not minor repairs.
But that wasn't public liability only, there was other aspects being insured, was it? Was it insuring the structure as well, the damage and all that sort of thing? Whereas the Aero Club is saying, well, we don't want to do that, we just want public liability insurance, which is going to cost way less. So.
And yeah, just sort of often trusts will have in their constitution winding up clause which says if the trust is wound up, then any property, assets, funds, etc., need to be disposed of in a, you know, to a similar type sort of thing. So they may well have something in their thing which would just say that ownership of that would transfer to council or.
I think they have to.
Whatever,
I think by law, every trustee and every constitution has to have that clause.
But like they're saying, it doesn't appear to be an item that would need thousands of dollars spent on every year to keep maintaining it in a working condition or anything. It's fiberglass, it'll have a lifespan of X number of years, just the odd hose down or something, you know, and yeah, it doesn't seem that it's going to be a really expensive thing to have to keep maintaining. It's not going to have a warrant of fitness every year or anything. Wash and wax.
It's an item that they're buying next year.
So I think the resolution covers it. It says formally signed legal agreement between council and Circuit Airfield Trust, including but not limited to the trust ownership of the physical structure and liability for maintenance, health and safety and insurance. Now that's all you can work on at this stage. You can't second guess what the future is going to provide or do. I mean, you've really got to move forward. This is a good project and one that will benefit, you know, Thames and the airfield going forward. So have you got anything more to add to this resolution, Peter?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should enthusiastically embrace this. I think the discussion we're having is really valid. I think the things we have in here, apart from the fact that it's referred to as a Spitfire and it's a hurricane, that needs to change the resolution. But I think those are, you know, we need to expect that they'll end up with an effective, workable agreement with council, right, that satisfies council, etc., etc. I don't know how we capture this one, but from my point of view, it has to be completed. So we're hearing about phase one, and we need to have phase two, right? We need to have the landscaping and all that as well. Otherwise, it's just going to look like a plane on a stick rather than a memorial. You know, so and I don't know how we catch that, but I would want to make sure, and I think they absolutely are committed to getting it all the way through, but we don't want a phase one, and then we're just left with this.
So the question I'm then asking is whether the suggested resolution is sufficient. Perhaps it just needs to be changed where it says determine whether to approve the erection of a replica Spitfire. We approve the erection of a replica Spitfire as described attachment A NZ field, on the site where it's going to go. So we do approve that on the proviso that A and B take place. Am I right in saying this? So we're really approving it in principle on the proviso that A be fulfilled and B be fulfilled. Does it need some furtherance relating to other agreements that might take place in terms of landscaping, those sort of issues? I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe what we're approving is just not the erection of the replica Spitfire, but it's the replica Hurricane. It's the replica Hurricane and the complete memorial. I don't know whether that.
So through the chair, it may be that there is then a C, which is the provision to the board of stage 2B concept plan for the landscaping, so that they have to provide that as well. So then you know what it's all going to look like in the end, and you could also say that you can't ask them to have it completed beforehand, but the board can have an expectation when it comes around, when it's completed.
Yeah,
I think that's good. So we've got three conditions, haven't we? 3 provisos so far. Got that?
Yep.
Brianna?
Stage 2 of the landscaping, yes, as C.
So could we read those 3 provisos out? That A and B are unchanged, and C will be.
Stage 2 of the landscaping be provided for.
So what we're asking for is stage 2 of the landscaping.
Will be completed.
Be completed.
What? To your satisfaction on the Thames-Coromandel board? Is that over? Is that too?
Well, so
authority?
So if it takes 3 months for them to do the design of the landscaping, then are we saying that this thing can't go ahead until we see that final design? Is that what we're saying?
So yes, through the chair, that's a little bit of my concern, because they might be able to complete the landscaping in time. So I'm suggesting that they provide the concept plan to you for approval, which they can do at the August meeting, because they're already working with Hannah Rose.
Yeah.
I guess it's sort of, to my mind, it's around a commitment.
Yeah.
That trust is
That's right.
some sort of a commitment to say, right, we're not just going to pop the plane up there and then, like you say, we end up the plane on the stick.
Yeah.
We can't call it that.
They're going to get onto the bench here.
But yeah, we don't want that extra proviso to stop.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you get right. It's the commitment.
Yeah.
To, yeah.
So C is not quite right.
No.
So, okay, just thinking, what about in clause 2, approve the erection of the replica Hurricane and the commitment to complete the full memorial?
Yeah.
Are we looking at something more like that?
Through the chair, I'm wondering if it would come down to like a written agreement to complete the landscaping by a certain time, if that would satisfy the board. Because how do you measure commitment? Otherwise,
Yeah, good point.
so I'm wondering if it's in something around the final concept plan for board approval, along with a written agreement to complete by, I don't know, the 1st of July, it could be this financial year, or something along those lines, because we won't be able to get the stage 2 done until stage 1's up, so.
Yeah.
Trying to make these time frames, so.
Trying to get the timing of all this stuff. Would you have a resolution C that says that the concept plans and landscaping, the final concept plans and landscaping be submitted to the Thames Community Board by the August meeting, would that be sufficient to
For
say that?
example, this
That'd be
meeting.
tight,
You don't think?
I think that would be really tight.
Right.
What about November?
Well, the event happens.
So
Well, September.
I think, so there's a couple of things here. One is we kind of want these guys tomorrow to be able to start the building consent process, right? At the moment, building consent people are not doing anything until they hear word from us that we're okay with this, right? And kind of what we want to happen tomorrow is the building consent starts getting processed, you know, the fee gets paid and et cetera, so that, you know, all the bits and pieces, you know, they come together and we get the aircraft up there. So that's I think is number one thing we need to achieve. Before that will go up there has to be a signed lease agreement and all that sort of carry on. So there's a whole bunch of work that's going to have to go on around that, getting a signed lease agreement. And that'll be fine, and all that's up there, that's great. What we just need to know is, if they finish it, but if they don't finish it, if they don't finish, what do we do? Take it to court because you haven't finished it, or put it in somebody else's?
Well, I think there should be a resolution set that just says subject to final concept plans and landscaping to the satisfaction of Thames Community Board. I mean, I don't think it's not putting a timeline on it. It's just saying, well, you know, we expect some sort of degree of concept plans, final concept plans will be with it. Is that adequate or no?
I'd be happy if that does not stop the building consent process and the lease agreement process starting tomorrow and getting completed.
Through the chair, can I suggest then that instead of having it as a proviso, we just simply have a resolution 3 that states that the board requests the trust provide their final concept plan for stage 2 board approval by a certain date. And can I consider that in good faith that then we continue working with the trust on getting that finished? I think that there's a clear willingness on their part to make it look really good, and they are working with council staff on it. So we've got our landscape architect.
And so therefore, do we make resolution 3 like sure this used to November?
You can make whatever date you like.
I say November because it pushes it out far enough, but if they get it ready by
Just because
September.
that's after the next general election.
It's got nothing to do with the election.
We won't go down that
We
track.
don't talk about that here
Is that a conflict of interest?
at the moment.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I'd be comfortable with that suggestion. Us do the resolution. Thank you.
So might pay a read the resolution out, please.
Okay, before we do that, can I just ask, are we going to be putting a proviso in about the trust, should the trust dissolve?
Do we need to put that proviso in?
I don't think we do.
Or won't the legal
Please.
vehicles in the council make sure that that's part of the agreement that they do, you know, which relates to, you know, maintenance and et cetera, et cetera.
So through the chair, it may well be covered by the trust ownership because that will be part of the provisions around that. So, but I guess that either way, really, there's no harm in adding that if it makes you feel a little more comfortable.
I would have thought that's covered off by the legals because the agreement between Eric Aero Club and its lease to council might get extended to this area of land where the memorial is going to go. And then it would have a further agreement between Eric Aero Club, the Bowles lease, with the trust. And the trust might representative, which I suspect it will, because that's their avenue for future funding. It's all in the how the agreements are constructed, so I'm not too concerned about that. That'd be right in saying that.
Can I say, I just wondered, the two guys that were here, are they the Haraki Euroclub?
Warren.
Yes, they are both. They're intertwined.
Warren's president of the Haraki Euroclub, as well as the president of the Ministry.
And part of the memorial,
And part of
so it's all in there, isn't it?
yeah, so we're going to move the motion to lower the speed limit past Warren's place, so that it doesn't get run over by us, because if it does, the airfield's gone.
Right.
Everybody owns a hurricane.
Okay, let's move on. So I think A covers it off in terms of the legal agreement between council and the Keith Park Airfield Trust, and if it's going to be something different, then it'll come out of the woodwork. I don't think you can specify just who the lease is going to be held by at this point. So
Ariana, can you read out the resolution?
Yeah, sure. Clause 3. Requests that the trust provides the final concept plan and landscaping be submitted for the November meeting for approval.
There's a typo in part A that should be not an S apostrophe, it should apostrophe S under trust.
Are you okay with all this, Robin?
Apostrophe.
Yep. Sounds good.
I just wanted to get in before Robin did.
Can you hear me? Yeah, but I can't see that page, Peter.
I'll put it in the chat for you, Robin.
Oh, no, all good, Ariana, I heard you. I heard the apostrophe in the correct place, actually. Well done.
yeah. Okay, the mover and seconder for that resolution. Thanks, Peter.
Yeah.
Second, thanks, Sean. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Mate, move on well. And just some discussion around a report that Jeff wrote, a letter that Jeff wrote to you, Aaron, on the 24th of June 2020. What really caught my attention was some of the airfield risk issues. In particular, it refers to Pukeko bird numbers increasing at a huge rate in the area, and whether in fact we should be as a council doing something about that. Yeah, I mean, obviously a potential hazard, and I've noticed the numbers increasing in the area, also
Well, I'm not a native, not Australian. So I've just been out here.
They are in fact naturalised to New Zealand. They are a native species. Yeah.
Last year.
Right, okay. And then the undergrounding of 11 kV aerials across the Ngāti Maru Highway. Well, I'm not sure what we as a Thames Community Board can do in relationship to that. But one thing as I've seen is orange covering on the, on the lines that can be placed that would act as a sort of a better warning signal for aircraft coming in. If there was a potential risk associated with those lines being above ground.
My understanding from the meeting on the 10th of June was that council was going to take this up with Powerco.
Right. So are we doing just really just a reminder of some of those points? Because I think there are some risks associated with, especially those bird numbers. I mean, for Jeff to identify those things, you must suggest that in fact some of the pilots are noticing some of those things.
Could we notify the gun club?
I know
Yes,
that
Rob.
you can shoot pukeko. You can shoot pukeko during some season. I'm not too sure. I've heard of people doing that, but I suspect that you'd have to have a constructive conversation with Doc about culling pukeko, and that there was another native species that was adversely affected that would improve the argument, as opposed to they're in the way, let's just shoot them. So my first thing would be, can the staff, or hell, I'm happy to do it, go and seek advice from Doc about that? Because before we even have a conversation, we need to know if it's legal and what the confines of that legality are.
Good point.
Right, so, I mean, the first thing is we can establish that council is responsible for those types of risks, presumably, and that you know, whether the risks are sufficient for council to have to take action is something that we as community board should note and refer to the appropriate department of council to look into. Is that right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Any suggestions there, Karen, in terms of this?
So through the chair, and Ariana was expressed that better with products are in the action to be able
Okay, thank you. That's what I'm after. All right, that completes that item. We've secondly done with 2.3. Now I'm going to do 2.3 in conjunction with the rent review 4.1, because both are competing for retained earning. Now, in terms of at the moment, you have, I think it's retained earnings, both are competing for. It's the discretionary fund, sorry. So there's $20,000 in our discretionary fund, of which at this stage 15,000 has been allocated to the Innovation Streets project as part of the 36,000 we have to come up with in terms of the 10% requirement for us to come under the Innovating Street project, and the funds that we've now been successful with the pilot program from NZTA. So we need to find $36,000, and that in that report there's suggestions of other funding to make up the 36,000 we can consider. And then in the report for rent relief for community groups, it's competing for 10,000 of the discretionary fund. The total sum that's being is 20 to 25,000. We were to consider both of them, we only got $20,000 as a contract. And there may be library books also coming in the occasion of, you know, of some use relating to the discretionary fund as well. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I would like to consider 2.3 in conjunction with 4.1, because I don't believe you can make one decision without considering the other. So, it's as simple as that. So I might go to 4.1 first, because rent relief for community groups, and let's discuss that before we make any resolution, or see that we can make a resolution or can't make a resolution, bearing in mind that in fact we have a competing aspect relating to use of our discretionary fund. So if we go to 4.1 first, that's on page
71.
Page 71 of your agenda. Donna's not here to speak to this, but I can speak to it.
Please stand.
Right, press, yeah.
Morning.
Chris, how are you?
Good, thank you. So yes, I'm just presenting this on behalf of Donna, who's just tied up with some other stuff at the moment. So the report's pretty self-explanatory. So it's really around whether the board feels it's a good use of its discretionary fund to subsidise these organisations and community groups by giving them a year of not paying the rent. So it's all listed in the table there. Yep. So the decision is really, whether the community board believe that's a good use of that fund, and that's fully the discretion of the community board whether they want to do that or not. Thanks. Similar reports, same report has gone to all the other community boards as well.
Could I just suggest I'll kick it off by just suggesting that in fact, when you look, when they introduced this concessional lease, a lot of these organisations were paying commercial rents. I think that was the case. Well, certainly they were paying higher rents than, as I can recall.
Possibly through the chief.
A figure of somewhere around 400,000 when this is 10, 12 years ago.
Right.
That was given as a concession to actually come down to this $350 amount. I know it was a significant figure from memory anyway.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is I don't think $350 is going to impact that greatly on any one of those organisations. And that it seems to me that the response to actually do this, it's a one-off COVID, probably isn't as, I don't think it's critical.
Sure. Yep.
But what is critical is the acknowledgement and recognition that a lot of these community organisations, in some instances, are struggling from the point of view of other costs, not necessarily this $350, whether that's rates and insurance and stuff like that. And there's some large bills relating to insurance that are circulating now for some of these organisations. So I guess my view is whether Thames Community Board can encourage a re-look at the policy relating to the fact on the basis that a lot of these community organisations are incurring larger costs than what previously might have, because of the environment is imposing larger costs relating to insurance or these sort of aspects. So whether in fact council would have a mind to actually reviewing the policy relating to these types of organisations throughout the district is where I think the matter lies, rather than ad hoc responses like this, $50 per organisation. And then also, it wouldn't be sufficient for these organisations to apply for grants for a $350 relief package. It would be a nightmare, administrative nightmare, just for $300 for each of these organisations to apply for a grant of $350. I can imagine the staff actually having to deal with all of that process relating to the district. And all these organisations applying for community grants for that amount of relief. I don't think that's a good idea either, but that's where I'll leave it sit. Sure. And hear what the board has to say about it.
Robin has a question, just raised it.
Yes, Robin?
Oh, well, no, straight up, I fully appreciate what you said about the fact that this is a token rent that they pay compared to the commercial rents that we could be charging, or that they could be charged elsewhere. My thought was, yes, $350 probably, hopefully, isn't going to make or break them, but are we able to give them rent relief less than the full amount of the rent? For example, we could offer everybody $100. That would be within our budget. It wouldn't take away anything from innovating streets. And I think it would be a nice gesture to say, yep, we acknowledge that you are struggling at this point. You can acknowledge that we don't have a lot of money to splash around, but here is something as a gesture of goodwill to say that we support what you do and we'll help you where we can.
I hear your sentiment, but in doing that, all right, that might be a figure of $3,000 or $4,000, and then that's going to take away from your ability to actually use some of that discretionary fund to increase the library budget. So, I mean, all that in the back of your head, sort of priorities as well.
Yeah, because that's the other thing that I'm really mindful of, is that if our discretionary budget goes towards the innovating streets, which is wonderful and going to make a huge difference to us, you know, having a very small amount left over and spending it all at once at the beginning, I think Sally actually pointed that out to us yesterday, not potentially not a good thing for us to be doing. And it's not, doesn't sound fiscally responsible. It's like spending all your pocket money on Friday.
Thanks for those comments, Robin. So the board will listen to other responses as well. Thank you. Anyone else like to talk about it?
Yes,
Cherie?
Cheryl.
No, you first, yeah. Cherie.
Just in terms of these 31 community groups, so have they asked, or is this just a suggestion from you, Martin, to giving them a
I think it was a directive of council for us to actually consider it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I raised it at council meeting and it was decided that it was up to community boards to decide. The reason I raised it is that I had several conversations with people from several of those clubs. Yeah. But, yeah.
So these clubs haven't asked for it at all, not all of them, just some of them.
They haven't, yeah, I mean, they haven't asked formally, they haven't sent a letter into the council saying please consider, except I believe for Thames Music and Drama, that's asked for consideration, but not about the lease. They've asked for consideration around insurance and rates.
Yes, that's right. It was a bigger picture request in terms of how a lot of these organisations are struggling with their insurance bills now, and rates. I don't think it's specifically around a $350 amount. So that's the point that I make.
Yeah, and I believe some organisations had an agreement with the council that around rates relief up until 2021, maybe?
Right.
Possibly. Yeah, but yeah, I mean that you're right. They are having significantly higher costs with rates and stuff.
Thank you. Cherie, answer your question. Sure.
I was just going to make the comment that I think these groups are very, very fortunate that that is all they are paying, because I know some are paying commercial leases and they're huge.
Yes.
So I don't think $350 is really going to hit them hard in the pocket.
No, that was as well. I felt the same as you in regards to that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm with Cheryl on that. Not all community groups have the luxury of being in council-owned premises, or, you know, and I think that there'd be a whole lot of other groups that would say, hey, I'm welcome $350. So I'm a full society would be one, for instance. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, if you know, you look at these and you kind of think, well, these are groups that have all got members, you know, if each member chipped in $10 each, they probably covered the 350. So, you know, we could go to members. And I actually like what has happened up north, where they've actually put a list out to people who want to make no donations. You know, the fact that these are community groups, they've got this cost, do you want to donate to your favourite community group, you know, to, I think there's other ways that they can do it. So I would rather the 10,850 not go here, I'd rather see it go to local.
Then you cut short the incentive streets program, but that's another discussion.
Yeah, no, that's another discussion. But
what I
guess what I'm saying is I think there's a penny which for the 10.5 grand.
So
yes, thank you.
So can I just speak to this? So obviously this is my fault, so I'm prepared to talk to it. Yeah, so to my mind, there's the issue of fairness, and as Peter said, and others have said, there's community groups that don't have the luxury of a council-owned building that they're paying $350 a year on. And is it fair that we're granting relief to this group, to these groups and not others? Also, Stratford talked about, well, you know, if we invited all these groups to apply, then that could be a bit of a nightmare. Obviously, there'd be nothing to stop these groups applying for the community grants anyway, so potentially there may be work there anyway. Some of these groups have significant ways of raising money, and some of them are pretty much, well, you know, we're providing services. You know, I was just thinking Caps Hauraki, they'll be getting significant amounts of government funding, and with the COVID-19 monies that are available, a number of these organisations will have the opportunity to apply for money that way. Yeah, I'm not going to die in the ditch over this. I had plenty of time to consider it, and I'm happy to, you know.
But an important aspect of it, and the reason you raised it initially was, there was a very good letter from the Thames-Coromandel Operating Society in relationship to their concerns as an organisation. Those concerns can be shared by other organisations. And they're more the principal, the bigger item costs relating to insurance and rates. But you could argue that those organisations that work out of a council building, part of their lease agreements requires them to pay their rates and insurance. I presume that's the case now, isn't it, Bruce, in terms of a lot of these, that they are now required to pay their rates and insurance, and in previous times, maybe a couple of years of time, the policy was a little bit different. So I think, I'm not quite sure whether they paid their rates under their they paid their insurance, but I'm not quite sure if they paid their rates under their lease agreement, you know, as a recoverable cost under their lease agreement. I think there's been some changes. So the point I'm making is, do you want the Thames Community Board to suggest to the council that they look at the policy on the ground for a lot of these organisations struggling with some of these low costs? That's against a view that says, well, they pay $350 a year for the buildings in leases. Ordinarily, they might be paying $15,000 or $20,000 if it were a commercial rent. Other organisations that aren't in a council building pay commercial rents, and that those are the rates and insurance requirement. It's never going to get up to the commercial rent that they would need to pay. So there's those sort of arguments too. But there is a general acknowledgement that some of these organisations are struggling, especially with their insurance bills, with earthquake commission stuff, and, you know, all this sort of stuff going on. Experience with the Carolyn Ball virtue, so it goes on. So, whether there's something further you want to add to this resolution along those lines, that should be looking at the policy in terms of financial hardship that some of these organisations are experiencing, or not, something that needs to be discussed further. You know, this resolution here, whilst you might think that it's worth pursuing the 350 concessions, do you want to take it further by saying should council review their policy? That's what I guess I'm making. Is that right, Aaron, in terms of what we thought might be a view as well? Is that adequate to say that?
Sorry, I missed that last bit. Sorry, I have to.
Is it sufficient to go back to council and say you should be reviewing the policy in relationship to not the $350 rent concessions, but other costs that now are imposed by some of these organisations, in particular insurance?
So my thoughts are, this is the one area that council can control, which is the rent they pay. We can't control all those other areas of insurance and everything else. No. So if council wanted to do something, this would be, if the community wanted to do something, this would be what the community board could do, as you know, as proposed or floated by Martin at council. But if the community board now look through this and go, look, and I'm hearing the discussions, this is $350 for each of these clubs or groups, community groups, they've got other ways of fundraising. We don't know the specifics of each individual organisation, but as a general approach, we know that all our residents and ratepayers are actually suffering as a result of the, COVID lockdown. So do we want to use the ratepayers, the money that the ratepayers have to subsidise these specific clubs with this $350 rent that council can control? If we agree, if you agree as a board that's the way you want to do it, then that's fine. Or if you agree, actually, we think that's probably manageable for those clubs and therefore we think there's better use of those funds in other areas, well, then that would be the other decision. So from my perspective, I think those are your two options. My recommendation is probably that you don't try and then go and do something else back to council. That's just.
What might be suggested, I think I've heard around the table that in fact, we feel that we should not proceed with this resolution of giving, across the board concession related to $350. Sure. As a response. I've heard that around the table. There seems to be a general consensus relating to that. It may be a further discussion somewhere along the line. It would be nice to actually get a list of our organisations for Thames that are paying, what the insurance and their rates are currently. Looking at do we have a contestable fund? Do we set up a contestable fund through long-term plans of these organisations of $20,000 rather than say, or $10,000? They actually apply for grant or concession to
I'd probably say.
I'm not feeling an issue on this one. I think that at the moment we've got these. So we're talking about the community groups that are using council premises. We're not talking about all community groups. We're talking about these ones. And there's a thing in place at the moment where they pay their $350, they pay their insurance, whatever else they pay. That's what they get for using council facilities. And kind of, it ain't broke. Don't fix it. I think I'm happy to support it or not, to go with the no on the resolution and not at this stage asking.
Yeah, I mean, the devil's advocate putting it out there and saying, well, you are hearing from some of these organisations that their insurance bill.
Yeah, and I think there might be an opportunity for a wider discussion, but it would have to be at a council level. And like you say, getting a list of community organisations and trying to, I don't know, once you go out with stuff like that, then there's an expectation that you're going to help them, and you may get groups applying that have got membership fees and people that are perfectly happy to pay the money. It just then becomes an enormous can of.
To do it with caution, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Okay, so look.
But we do have things.
Right.
So we need to progress this.
So the suggested resolution to receive the rent relief report for June 2020 resolves that we do not allocate funding of 10,000 in the discretionary fund.
Well,
Sufficient?
yes, I mean, the resolution would be to allocate funding and then people would vote yes or no. Or
You can change.
Propose new resolution.
or you propose a new resolution.
Yeah, you can do a proposed amendment.
Well, I've made an amendment.
So what are we voting on now?
We're not.
Declines the funding
Right.
of the 10,000.
So if we say yes, we're saying no. So what?
No, we are declining the funding.
So you're saying yes to that resolution?
Right, so if we say yes, we're saying no to it. Okay.
Oh, right,
Just
yes.
one minute. So we put it.
No, it's just
So,
proposed a new amendment to clause 2, which is to decline,
Right.
and Sheree has second. So now he's going to put it to the vote.
And Martin's question, whether in fact I should be,
Just voting on the original resolution.
Right, just voting on the original resolution and then.
Correct.
So let's do,
I agree.
let's do that.
I agree.
Vote on the original resolution. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against?
Yes. Okay.
Sorry, we were confused.
Yeah.
Right, so that, we're going to motion Rob Hale. A new resolution.
Robin?
Sorry.
What was Robin's?
I'm for.
You're for giving the concession.
I'm with Martin, but we've
Okay.
lost, so it's okay.
So that's 2 to 4.
Right. So the new resolution, I've suggested a new resolution, which was to seize the rent relief of community groups report in June 2020 and resolves to not allocate funding $10,884 from its discretionary fund for this purpose. Is that a good enough resolution or?
Have we already
We
covered?
just done
No, I'm confused.
So,
Do you need to have that second the other resolution if you've already just let it fall and it's been voted down?
All right, okay.
Let's move on.
that.
yeah,
Yeah, well,
so you went to put the motion, you advanced, and now we've gone with declines and it's carried.
Thank you for the discussion.
Yes.
So if we could move to 2.3.
Yeah, just to let you know, I'm trying to go quickly and get to this. So if you have to quickly do that one before we go in.
Will it be quick?
Just going to be voted, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's whether you wish to approve it or not. Actually, it is to approve it.
There'll be a lot of discussion about this.
I would not think so.
Let's not prejudge it.
So is it general, there's something I need to defer or? No. Right, okay. So there's a suggested resolution for,
2.3 budget.
Mover and seconded for that.
I'll move it.
I'll see.
Those in favour?
I.
So we're now talking about 2.3? Is there, can we have some discussion of that?
Yeah, we'll have the discussion, but
We've got the
So hang on, if we're voting for the resolution,
No, we're voting to talk about it, aren't we? Don't we
Yeah.
have to do that?
so is there some discussion relating to this resolution?
what do you guys just voted for?
To allocate the funding for the, oh, no, to have open discussion on the,
To accept the resolution, but to discuss it before actually voting. I think that's what we have to do.
To discuss the resolutions and approve.
Look, obviously, it's not a good idea to actually do this resolution. We thought there might be a quick way of doing this, discussing this 2.3, because everybody agrees with it. But obviously, there's some discussion needs to take place, so we'll defer it until after